We all have leadership skills. It's just some of us don't bring it up. Some of them don't want to use them. And it's okay to have a failure, but learn from those failures. Put the discipline. Everything can be done in this life.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they're taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
Hey, pilot, welcome to Ready for Pushback. I'm Nick Fialka. I'm so glad you've joined me today. If you are joining me in the YouTube space, welcome, or the podcast space, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. Today's conversation with a gentleman named Fredy Garcia. Freddy is an amazing, amazing human. He's done so much, 23 years old and crushing it all the way to a major airline. I want you to listen to our conversation. If you are a person, if you know somebody that's really wanting to get into aviation or has this like big, big dream to grow up and be a pilot, this is the guy that you need to listen to. Are you friends with somebody that might be immigrating to the United States or wonder what kind of barriers there are? Freddy is the man to listen to. What a big heart. What a huge human being. I mean, it's such a great conversation. I was blown away as I listened to it, as it unfolded, and we were having this conversation that was just so fulfilling and so beautiful, and seeing him succeed has been awesome. So I hope that you like it as much as I enjoyed recording it. So let's do it. Sit back, relax. Let's get ready for Pushback.
Hey, pilot, did you just get a new conditional job offer? Are you getting out of the military and going to move your family across the country? Are you going to move in base somewhere, or are you going to go out to find that second home that you've been looking for? Well, I want you to stop right now, pick up the phone, and call Marty and the team at Trident Home Loans. It's an organization that's run by pilots. They understand pilot pay. They understand contracts. They understand military. They have the best VA loans in the United States. Marty and his team have been doing mortgages for years. They've been doing my mortgages for years. I trust him and his team more than any other organization. I challenge you to get a better deal anywhere else. Go ahead, reach out, get a mortgage quote, and then call Marty and his team. They will walk you through the process and show you how competitive their rates are. So go right now, TridentHomeLoans.com, and check them out.
All right, here we are. I'm with my man Freddy with 1D. What's up, Freddy?
Hey, how you doing, Nick?
Dude, I'm so good. I'm so good. This is a great day for me, and I've just been looking forward to our conversation all day long, and this is going to be awesome. I'm really glad you reached out to me. You found me on the internets, right? How did you come across me and Ready for Pushback?
So first of all, with Spitfire, I look into Spitfire. Everyone was talking about Spitfire. Hey, when you get ready, when you turn 23, you got to reach out to these guys and make sure they prepare you for your interview. So I went to the website, and it was when the podcast was beginning. It was like, I think you had like 3 episodes in Spotify. So I'm like, oh, wow, I got to start listening to this. I start listening to the podcast, and then I start following you in LinkedIn. I start following pretty much most of the team from Spitfire and LinkedIn, and trying to know what you guys were doing for everyone,
That's awesome. Have you been pretty satisfied with the Spitfire-ness of things?
No, man, you guys are amazing. There's no way people can say that they are not satisfied. You guys really care about making the process easy for everyone. The way you guys explain everything is well structured, and that's one of the things that I really like, is that you guys are straight and say, hey, this is what we're selling, and you need to make sure you're following the steps in order to be successful.
You were talking about Spitfire being pretty easy. Do you think that Spitfire is kind of a family dynamic with all the people involved with it?
That was one of the best things, that everyone was family oriented. It wasn't like you just purchasing a product. You could reach out to your mentors, your coaches, and have a question and one-on-one and be like, hey, I am really having the struggles with this type of questions. I am not getting it. And that was the best thing, because everyone learns differently, and you guys understand that. So it made the process really easy to me. I wish I would have spent more time using you guys to prepare for my interviews, but I was in the middle of going to captain training, and I was like, I really got to pass my captain training, because it doesn't matter if I don't pass my captain training, no matter how prepared I go for this interview.
Yeah, I can completely identify with the stress of becoming a captain, and you've got the line check and you've got the sim ride and all those things, man. The bar is really high.
That's the thing. But like I say, the process that you guys make, being able to study by yourself or just looking pre-recorded videos, that helps a lot, because you can see the feedback, like from previous conventions, from previous experience, reading the feedback of people that got the interview, reading from people that already went through the process, just makes it better.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I wanted to have you on here because I want to hear your story. I know you've taken a long path to get to where you are, and it's been a big uphill battle. So why don't you kind of paint the picture for us of your path?
Well, first of all, I was born and raised in El Salvador. When I was a little kid, when I was 9 years old, my mother had the opportunity to move to the United States, but she couldn't bring us with her because, all the whole immigration process is a long process. So my mom left when we were 9. Me and my little sister stayed back home. The first year we stayed with my dad. After the first year, my dad gave us the news that he was moving to the United States too. So a year later, me and my little sister, I was 10, my little sister was 6, me and my little sister living with the nanny full time, so it was just calling my mom, calling my dad, but never actually having to see them. When I was 13, I was ready to start heading into high school in my country, and I knew that my family couldn't afford for me to be a pilot. I always wanted to be a pilot because I never liked to be an office people. I was like, I can be in an office every day. This is not my type of job. And I decided to join in the Air Force in my country. I started in my country in the Air Force. We have a program to do high school. And so pretty much you do 4 years of high school, and then you become an AMP. And then after that, you can apply to go to officer school to be a pilot.
No kidding.
But it's a great process because it gives you the experience of, hey, this is how the military is. Do you like it or you don't like it? So it was a great time. I've always been the youngest everywhere I go. Apparently, my mom and my dad sent me to school when I was a little kid. I started school way too young. So I was always ahead of everything. And I did 2 years in the Air Force, and on my second year, all the immigration process was done, and I had the opportunity to move to the United States. So, my mom asked me, she was like, hey, you don't have to come to the United States. You can continue on your career, or you can move to a new country with me and your sister. And it was hard because, first of all, me and my little sister and my mom did not speak English. When I was moving in 2016, I didn't know. I knew 4 words. Hi, hello, bye, yes and no. So 5.
You didn't know English in 2016, and we're having this conversation, and you talk like you've been here forever, ever. That's amazing.
Yes, So I got to the United States. A little bit background of me is my mom. My mom pretty much raised me single parent, and she would always being a hard worker. In order for her to bring me and my little sister, she had to have 3 jobs. Like, she had 2 full times and a part time. She would have worked Monday to Monday, and it was just long hours to make it happen. So when I decided to come to the United States, my unique goal was I want to help my mom and want to make my mother proud. That was my unique hopes of coming to the United States. I didn't know that I was going to be able to reach where I am now in my life.
What state did you move to?
We moved to Maryland. That's where my mom was already living. We got to Maryland, and it was a big culture shock because my mom had to go to work. Like I say, when we got here, my mom was renting a room in the house. So we were living, me and my little sister and my mom, on a room in the house, So I would sleep on the floor the first 3 months. I was sleeping on the floor. My mom and my sister would share the bed. But it didn't matter to me because I knew that my mom was working so hard for us that the unique thing that I care about was now I get to spend time with my mom.
Yeah.
So we start the process of getting me enrolled for school, and they say, wow, you were in the military back home. You have all the credits to graduate high school. But unfortunately, because you don't know any English, we will have to put you from the 9th grade.
Really? How old were you?
I was 15.
15.
I was 15. So I was like, no. I was like, there's no way I'm going to do 4 years just to learn a language. I'm like, I think I can make my way through learning English. And they were like, no, it's really hard because back in Maryland, the schools are high on Latinos. So it's really hard for people to actually learn English because you're speaking Spanish all the time at school.
Oh.
But I put it as my goal, and I talked to my advisor, and I was like, can I get a chance at least? They say 6 months is what you have to take the placement test. And if you make it through the placement test, we'll put you in the middle of the year to the 12th grade. Long story short, 6 months later, the placement test, and I was put on the 12th grade. So it was the best time of my life. I was a senior in the United States when I was only 15. Yeah.
What did you do to learn English to be able to climb that hill?
So me and my little sister, like I say, we used to stay in this room, right? So there was a 7-Eleven like 25 minutes from our house. So we didn't have nothing to do. We didn't know anyone. So my mom would have lived us like $20 every day. And me and my little sister would be like, hey, let's walk to the 7-Eleven. Let's get a pizza and we'll get lunch. We don't have to actually cook. So that's how I started, just trying to communicate, because we would go out with my mom, and my mom was having a hard time communicating with people, and I was trying to help. So that was one of my best things, like just trying. Even when people were correcting me, I would not give up. I would not give up listening to people. And that was what really helped me, listening to the people, and everything I was watching and listening and reading was in English. I would start reading any type of books and have no idea what it was saying, but I was translated back and forth, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what it means, and then I was slowly getting my vocabulary to be able to communicate with people. So,
wow, I still have no idea what books say, so don't even worry about it.
No, apparently now I lost that. Not that apparently I know how to speak English. I lost that capability. But yes, I was blessed with 6 months later being a senior, and they changed my whole classes and everything. And now I was like, I didn't know anyone. And they were like, who's this kid? He's a senior. No one knows him. So high school was really tough for me, because I was never able to make too many friends because moving grades, moving classes in the middle of the year. And what it was fun was that 6 months later, after I got into becoming a senior, they were like, hey, Freddy, you want to buy this prom package and this? And I'm like, I don't know what is this, but sounds fun. So I bought all this swag that apparently had the names of the class. And when I get all this swag, my name was not on the list.
Oh.
And I go and talk to my advisor, and they were like, oh, it's because we moved you in the middle of the year. But hey, no one will figure out. So I graduated high school, and I was just 16 years old. I knew I wanted to go to a fly school. I was looking between going to the military, enlisted, or going to fly school. But because I was 16, I needed to wait to be 17 in order for me to enlist and getting permission from my mom and my dad. So I knew my mom would have given me permission, but my dad, we never had like a communication or anything. I didn't know if he was going to be able to say, yes, you can go and do this, because even when I went to the military in El Salvador, my dad was like, no, you're not going to make it through. There's no military in our family. You're not going to make it through. So, when I was in the military back home, I'm like, I'm doing this because of my dad. I got to show everyone that I can do this. So I reached out to this school in Sanford, Florida, doing my research on fly schools and everything. I figured out that 141 was the best option for me because it was a curriculum, and I didn't know anyone on aviation to tell me what to do. So I was like, okay, this school might be my best choice because they have a approved curriculum by the FAA. So that means my odds to be successful in the program will be higher.
Were you just searching on the internet trying to find flight schools?
That's all I did. It was Google. I was reading on Google. That was my unique resource because everyone at my high school, they were going to colleges, and I'm like, I don't even understand. I'm like, my goal was like, I don't know what college to go because in Maryland, there's not many aviation programs. There is 2. So I didn't feel comfortable doing a whole bachelor's degree while flying the plane, because I talk to people and they're like, aviation in English is a whole different word. And I'm like, oh, that's true. So I reached out to this school in Sanford, Florida. I got accepted and everything, but they say, hey, we just have a problem with you. You're 16. We have to wait until you're 17 and a half for you to begin our program. So I was already graduated from high school. I got a full-time job working in tree service during the summer. So to help my mom and try to save more money to bring to Florida. So I worked the whole summer. Would have worked sunrise to sunset. It was just long days. But I was like, my mom did this for me. I can do this for her.
Wow.
Then I would turn 17 and a half. That same month, I was driving with my mom to Florida. She dropped me off in Sanford, Florida by myself. And that was Freddy in fly school.
Wow.
Day one.
So, yeah, Sanford is definitely far away. And for being such a young man, do you feel like, were you nervous? Were you scared about what was laying ahead of you?
Timothy P. Pope is a certified financial planner dedicated to guiding professional pilots through smart financial planning. Whether it's saving for retirement, investment management, a seamless military transition, or strategic tax planning, Tim is your trusted financial partner. Also, you can join Tim as he leads engaging discussions on personal finance and strategies for professional pilots on the brand new Pilot Money podcast. Timothy P. Pope, helping professional pilots make the most out of life.
I was really scared because, first of all, it was my first time moving out of. Now I was actually having to live by myself on a state that I didn't know anyone, on a place that I knew that I wouldn't have a support because I'm like, my mom was too far. Flying or driving is a long distance. So I was actually really scared of not making it through because of all those pressures. I used those pressures to help me going through the program.
Tell me how you figured out, because it's expensive. It's a ton of money. Only rich people are allowed to do this. So how in the world can you figure this out?
That was the thing too. I started reading about how people in the United States afford college, how people in the United States do this, because I'm like, there's no way my mom can afford for me to go to this. And that was the other reason why I picked this school, because it was one of the unique fly schools in the United States that is not a college that is approved to be able to get a federal loan.
Oh.
So, and I read the difference between a federal loan and a private loan, and the interest rates were different. I didn't even know about interest rates. I didn't know. Me and my mom got some research, but that was the reason why I stick with this school, because you were able to apply to a federal loan through your parents. And my mom, due to her hard work and all her nice credit record, we were able to get approved for the loan. And it was pretty expensive. I think the whole program was around $80,000. So it was pretty expensive. But, I was blessed that my mom was able to be approved for this program. But now I was going to fly school with the problem that I have to make it through this program. I already took a loan in my mom's name. I'm throwing out the towel in this.
Yeah, there's a lot at stake. And I think that a lot of people listening will identify with that as well, as it's a huge risk and it's a huge undertaking for something that is very hard to do and very difficult to learn. But you have to be 110%, right? You have to do everything you can to get there. Is that flight school still around?
It is. It's one of the biggest 141s in the country. They have 2 locations in the United States, and they even have locations in Europe.
What's the name?
So L3 Harris now.
Oh, L3 Harris. Yeah. That's awesome. I need to reach out to them and have them on the show. That'd be pretty cool.
Yes, they are a big school. And it was funny because I did all the research on this school. And before it used to be Comer Academy. Then they were Delta Connections Academy, and then they became Aerosyn. So all those, all that background, I was like, wow, this is, they were linked with all these successful airlines. I'm probably going to be able to, find a job after I go through, and sure enough.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me about the flight school experience.
So I had the best time on flight school, and it was due to the people. It was due to the people because I started learning about, first of all, the first time I was on a plane, it was my first private pilot lesson.
Oh my gosh.
That was my second time on an airplane. My first time on an airplane was when I moved from El Salvador to the United States. So my second time on a real airplane, I was the pilot learning, the student pilot. It was hard at the beginning, and the reason why it was hard was because, like I say, the language. Now it was like a whole new vocabulary of words that I did not have idea what it, I didn't know what lift was. I didn't know what drag meant. I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
It's all magic.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, what does this mean? Because I'm like translated what lift means in Spanish, and the translation is way up. And I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, this can be happening to me. Yeah.
So were you studying an unbelievable amount?
Wow. I would have spent day and night studying. I had to do the same thing that I used to do before. I would translate all the POH, but the PHAC and everything into Spanish. And I'm like, okay, now it makes sense, So it took a lot. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of discipline, but I was always ready to give up all, my freedom or doing this, like the normal things a kid from 17 years old want to do. No, I was like, no, there's not this. I got to study. I got to do this,
Yeah. Now, as you're going through, were there a lot of classmates? Were there other Spanish-speaking classmates in your cohort?
First of all, I got assigned this instructor. I met this instructor. He was born and raised in New York, but his parents were Dominicans. So he's Spanish. So I was like, I got to request this instructor, And, his name is Pablo. Pablo has been my mentor since the day that I met him until today. I still reach out to him. And he would have seen that, when we were doing a flight lesson, he would have seen that I was struggling to understand him. And he would have said in Spanish. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that, connecting all those dots, all the effort that he put out on me was amazing. And he not only put the effort on me as his student, he took like a dad role model with me. And one of the things he said, he's like, Freddy, I know you're 17 years old, but this is an industry where you have to be adult.
Yeah.
It's an adult. He always tell me, do not piss no one off on this industry. You never know who's going to be next day doing our interview, And I took all those words, and those words helped me to be where I am.
Yeah, that's so important. And that's such a great tidbit is that, and I mention it a lot, is that this is a small industry. There are thousands of pilots, but boy, is it a small place. And it only takes one thing.
That was the thing for me, because I'm like, at the beginning, I was like, wow, how is that happening? But then, I trusted him a lot because all the effort and everything he was doing for me, that I'm like, he just wants me to be successful. He would have, on his days off, we would even go to church together. Me and him and his family. He would invite me to church, have dinner with him, with his family. So I took him as my role model, and I'm like, I want to be like him and give back to the community. And I had so many people there that, they were on ratings ahead of me, that they were always same thing, caring and asking if I needed help. I would always have like a big class that we can all go together and just study and ask, hey, how did you get through this? So I had a big support system that became my family down in Sanford.
Yeah, being able to know who to call when you have a question and being able to be vulnerable with them, it's really hard. I feel that right now as I'm doing my training and Captain Upgrade and all those things. I have a lot of questions I feel like are probably dumb questions or basic things that maybe somebody should already know. But I have a group of friends that I can call and ask these questions, and they give me the grace to listen and not make me feel like an idiot. And that's so important in what we do, and being able to humble yourself when it's seemingly easy for other people and it's like a duck on water, right? They look real chill on top of the water, but their feet are kicking like crazy.
Exactly. No, and that's something that I always tell people, no matter what your level of experience is, you don't need to know everything. You just need to be able, like you say, being humble and ask the question, because we might think, oh, this is a stupid question. No, it's not. We all been through this. Everyone can forget stuff, and you just need to be able to speak up, because that's the main problem. When you try to keep it to yourself, that's when you start struggling. When you get in trouble, because you didn't want to ask, because you didn't want to sound this way, So that was one of the most important things to me, being able to always bring things up when I have questions. And that's what actually really helped me a lot to be where I am.
Wise words, dude. Wise words. How long did it take you to get through flight school?
So I started in flight school in May 2018. By September 15, 2019, I was already a CFI. That was my last day of school.
Wow.
Yeah, September 15, 2019. It was 2 days after my 19th birthday when I became a CFI.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And so once you had these qualifications, what did you do with that?
So First of all, I love Florida. I love the family that I have in Florida, but I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try something new. I looked at this school in Phoenix, Arizona named AeroGuard, and I was like, wow, I would love to live in Arizona. I'm like, just try something new. Me and my family never been to the West Coast, so I'm like, let me try the West Coast. And I applied to this school right when I got my CFI, and 2 days later, I was interviewing with them. And I got the job, I got the job. They had me starting like 2 weeks after. I started before the end of September with them.
Okay, so you are September, and then in 2019, and you had October, November, December, January, February, March, 6 months, and then all the COVID stuff started falling apart. Did that affect your progression at all?
So one of the things that happened during COVID was that, moving to the West Coast was really tough for me. That was one of the most toughest experiences I ever had because I was so close to my mother. So the time change between West Coast and East Coast, like sometimes I would get off from work at 7 p.m. West Coast time. And I would have called my mom, and she would have been like, hey, was everything good? Like, why are you calling me at 1 in the morning? And I'm like, oh, 1 in the morning. I'm like, no. So it was tough, and it was really expensive for me to go and visit my mom because, there was only Southwest and American doing direct flights, but round trip, it was like a $700 ticket just to go see my family. So in January, I talked to my mom and I'm like, Mom, I really want to start looking for another job. Something that is closer that I can at least drive, like if I cannot afford a plane ticket, I can do a drive. Because I always loved to drive because when I was back in Florida, I would have drive from Florida to Maryland just to see my mom. Because, it would only cost me to fuel my car $80-$90 and I can see my mom. So it was a great time, So I applied to this school in Jasper, Alabama named Sanders Aviation.
Yeah. We love the Sanders. They're awesome.
Yeah, they are amazing. They are amazing. I didn't know anything about Alabama. I didn't even know where Alabama was on the map, but I applied to them. I told them my background. I shared, where I came from and everything. And they decided to give me an opportunity to be part of their team as one of the instructors. So in May, I was moving to Alabama.
What were you flying for them?
So I was flying the Cessna 172 and the Beechcraft 95 Travelers.
All right. That's awesome. What did you think of living in Alabama? Boy, that's different.
Oh, that's when my English got better, That's when my English got better because everyone in Alabama would say something about my accent. They were like, oh, we don't understand you. What? Like I would have repeated myself trying to have a conversation like 50 times. So I got rid of my, I still have an accent, but I used to have a really strong accent.
I can hear your Southern accent now. You definitely talk like you're from Alabama.
In Alabama, that was gone. And it was a big change for me. It was a big change because Jasper, so, the biggest cities in Alabama are Birmingham and Huntsville or Montgomery. I was in the middle of nowhere. Jasper, Alabama is just nothing. It's just a small community, nothing going on, nothing, I tell people we had a Walmart, Home Depot, the essentials. And it's funny, because I used to tell this story to all my students that when I reach out to Jessica, because Jessica is one of the owners, and I said, Jessica, I'd never been to Alabama. I don't know what it's Alabama like. Is there a lot to do in Alabama? And she say, oh, yeah, you will have everything you need here in Jasper, Alabama. So when I told that to my students, they were like, oh, what she was referring was...
Sanders Aviation is one of my favorites. I love them. They're great. They've been helping out the military for a very, very long time.
No, she used to call me Freddy a lot. She was always, I used to make Jessica mad all the time. So she was like, Freddy. And I was like, oh, here I go. And that was the great thing, because COVID back in Alabama didn't affect us. It was one of our busiest time. And it was because, most of the military were at home, So the issue that we were having is because guys would have like a range that they couldn't go out. But, we would have guys from Pensacola, guys from Meridian coming over because we were right on the range of them. So they were, coming to do the training. So we had a lot of training going on during COVID. So I never actually felt the pandemic back in Alabama,
Tell me, did you notice a difference between training people that were not military and training people that were military? Was there a difference?
It was a big difference. It was a big difference. And one of the things that I felt was, military guys was just the discipline. It was all about, and give me the tools and tell me how to use them, and I will make sure that I learn how to use them properly. And that was the big thing. They knew that they were coming for a goal. We had guys coming for their ATPs, for their multi-engines, different ratings, but they all knew what was their goal, and they made sure to speak up. When they didn't like anything, they were always speaking up. When they had questions, it was an open academy. We were like, hey, reach out if you don't understand anything. That was the great thing, because we were doing a mix between military and guys that were not military. And, sometimes you were having to babysit. And that was one of the things that I love doing. I will babysit for you to a point. But, if I have to tell you 20 times, hey, study this, hey, come on, it gets to a point, because I've been through that process too. And I remember when my instructor say, hey, I will tell you what to study, but I will not remind you more than twice.
Yeah, that's important. And that's great. How long were you at Sanders?
May 2020 to July of 2021.
Okay. What were your hours looking like during that time? Were you kind of focused on getting to the airlines?
So when I got to Sanders, I was still 19. So, I knew that I had to be 21 to go to any airline. Didn't matter what airline wanted, I had to be 21. So when I got to Sanders, I was around 400 hours. I got to my 1,500 hours back in March. I stayed instructing for Sanders for a couple months, but then after that, I had to take some time off. I was like, okay, I already flew. I already had my time to go to the airlines. Now I just got to wait till I turn 21.
Wow. So you just crushed all your hours and you weren't even 21 and you were just sitting around waiting to turn 21.
Exactly. So when I was down in AeroGuard in Phoenix, I joined in this program that Mesa Airline had, that it was a cadet program. So I always wanted to live in Houston, because Houston was close from home, El Salvador. It's a 2-hour flight. So I was like, I want to be Houston based. And they had Houston and Dulles as their bases. And I'm like, Dulles will be great at the beginning, because I can spend time with my mom, close to her and everything. So I knew that I was going to Mesa before, because I was already a cadet for them. I had an employee number. I had my CGO. It was all about getting my hours. So when I got my hours, they were like, okay, now we just got to wait until September.
And so 2 questions, I guess I'll ask this one. What was it like saying goodbye to Sanders?
It was hard, It was hard because it never felt like a job. I've been blessed since the day I graduated flight training to this day of never feel like going to work or doing something as work. It was always like going to my family, because Gordo, William, Jessica, Grant, and everyone there, it was just a family. You would have regular conversations. They would know your life. You would know their lives, So it was hard for me to say bye to them. It was like, wow. First of all, I didn't believe it at the beginning. I'm like, I can't believe that when the whole world was shutting down, I was able to reach out my goals on time, because that was my goal. When I graduated as a CFI, I was like, I will get my time before I'm 21. And I used to tell my mom, I'm like, I will be at the airlines when I'm 21. I promise you.
Man, that's amazing. I absolutely love that. I bet you ate really good food, even though you were in Jasper, Alabama. I heard there's a lot of good cooking.
Gordon would love to get us barbecue. So we would have, there was a barbecue place that it was funny, because it was a grocery store, and right next to it was connected as a barbecue place. And everyone in town knew Gordon. Like Gordon, the Sanders, everyone knew. So
he's bigger than life.
It was like, hey, I'm here to get some barbecue for Gordon. And it was just this massive bags of barbecue. And we were eating barbecue twice a week, because we would have so many students coming over, so it was barbecue. So yes, food was amazing there, and sometimes we had a hangar. Gordo would do like barbecues for the students. So barbecues, it was a great time. I was able to meet a lot of incredible persons, different backgrounds.
Were there any other Spanish speakers that came through?
There was one instructor. His name was Sebastian. He was from Puerto Rico. So it was fun, because Sebastian was like a brother. And at the beginning, when I started, we were only 3 instructors. It was only me. It was Brent, Sebastian, and me. So it was only 3. So Brent was born and raised in Jasper, Alabama, and he did all his training through Sanders. And then Sebastian, he did all his training down in Tennessee, but he came because he had a friend that was like family with Gordo. So it was like a small family. Like I say, it wasn't like you were just a number. They all knew who you were.
Yeah, that's so important. Tell you what, this is a great ad for Sanders. Tell me this. When you left there and you were in September, is that when you started at Mesa?
Yeah, so I turned 21 on September 13, 2021. And 2 days later, I was already in Dallas doing ATP, CTP.
Great. And what was that experience like?
ATP, CTP was a lot of fun. It was just meeting a lot of people because it was all the airlines were hiring a lot now. So I was on CTP and we were like 150 guys on my class. It was a huge class. So you had guys from all the regionals at the same place and you were talking to them. So it was a great experience. It was a short course, 1 week, and then you were done. You do your written test, and then I got my written test done in Saturday, and Sunday I was flying out to Phoenix to begin induct.
No kidding. And so you finally made it to an airline, and you're 21, freshly 21. It's a lot different. Training for an airline is a lot different than training for anything else. So what was that experience?
Hey, pilot. Does your pilot uniform make a short flight feel like a transcon slog? Flight Uniforms have reinvented aviation shirts with 3D stretch, stain repellents, and no wrinkles. These shirts are just plain comfortable and ready for takeoff right out of your rollerboard. Flight Uniform is trusted by more than 25,000 pilots, and their flagship flight shirt has over 1,500 five-star reviews. I've worn every pilot shirt out there, and if you know me, you know I only wear Flight Uniforms. Be the envy of every cockpit at flightuniform.com and get a special podcast exclusive discount with the code SpitfirePod20 to take 20% off your first order. That's SpitfirePod20, all one word, for 20% off your first order at flightuniform.com.
So, at Mesa, I was able to only complete induct and systems training on the plane. I got selected for the 175, but I was unable to continue my training due to they were having long simulator delays. Because I started in September and there was people that were hired in February that were still waiting for their simulator training. So when we finished systems, the director of training came to our class and they say, "Hey, you guys going to be sent home. There's not a day for you guys to come back."
And I hear that statement a lot because of a couple things. They're struggling to have enough instructors. They're struggling to have enough simulators. They're struggling to, they have a lot of people trying to get through the pipe. And so there's this big choke point. And so a lot of people are faced with that, sitting and waiting. And so what did you do? How do you manage that?
So first of all, I always been reading a lot. I always try to, when I'm close to reaching a goal, I want to set myself with my next goal. So I knew, okay, now I'm 21. What is my next goal? I knew by the time I was 23, I wanted to be an airline captain. I was like, I'm going to be the youngest airline captain by the time I'm 23. So I didn't want to stay at home because it was a great deal for some of my classmates. They were all happy because most of my classmates, they had a wife, they had family, so for them being sent home with pay, it was a great deal. They didn't have to do anything when they were gone. But for me, I was like, this might delay my progress into becoming a captain.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I immediately, when I knew about that delay, I knew that next company that would be able to offer me a base in DC to be close to my mother was Republic Airways, because I said it to myself. I'm like, I will only fly the 175. So Mesa and Republic were the unique places that had a DC base. Mesa was out of Dallas, Republic is out of DCA. So my last day of systems, I applied to Republic Airways. Applied to Republic Airways. I got a call a couple days after, and I explained to them the situation of what was going on. And they were like, Freddy, don't worry. We know that that is something that is true because we had many applicants like you coming to interview because of that reason. So a week after that call, I was already getting invited to an in-person interview here in Indianapolis. I came to Indianapolis. That was my first actual interview because when I interviewed with Mesa, I interviewed as a cadet and it was a Zoom call. So coming into Indianapolis was my first time as an airline interview. And I will tell you the fun stuff about this interview. I didn't know that I had to bring a tie or a suit, business casual.
Oh, buddy.
I didn't know. I was like, I should have asked. To be honest, I should have asked. But put everyone on the same hotel. Everyone that was interviewing for that day, they were all staying at the hotel. So the interview started like at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we were all meeting down at the lobby for like a 6:30 shuttle. So I'm getting to the lobby, man, and I see everyone with suits and ties and all these binders and stuff. And I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, I am not getting this job,
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way. And I start asking the guys, I'm like, guys, why you have all these documents? And they're like, oh, yeah, on the email it says, bring this, your resume, and I look at the email and I'm like, oh, that was the part that I didn't read.
Oh, buddy. So what do you do?
So my nerves are already away. I'm like, wow, I'm not getting this job. Like there's no way I will convince them. I remember my recruiter, her name is Kelly, was an angel to me because I talked to her and I'm like, ma'am, I'm really sorry. I didn't bring a copy of my resume. I didn't bring these documents, but I have them digital. Is there any way you can help me print them? She say, hey, you know what? We'll go print them and we'll act like you brought them.
Oh, man.
And, I emailed the documents to her. She printed them to me. And then when I got called for my interview, I was all prepared.
Man.
And I was lucky enough to be interviewing with her, another pilot. And the first question was like, why are you leaving Mesa? I explained the reasons. I showed them because I had my training and I was like, this is what I done. If you see, and this is the email that I got from the training department that I was being sent home indefinitely. And then, we went to the interview and it was successful because the pilot was like, wow, it's amazing. You answer everything right. You have a great attitude. We are excited to have you. But because I was coming from another 121, they had to send me to a review board. I went to the review board and a week later, I got a call from Kelly saying, congratulations, we want you to start with us.
Man.
I remember that call. I was crying. I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity. But it was a lot of pressure because now I was already leaving at 121 to start in another 121. And I didn't do any other training than Indo Can Mesa. So I'm like, I have to make sure I get through this,
Yeah. Did anybody say anything about not wearing a suit during the interview?
No, they never mentioned. I apologize to them. I say, hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't even own a suit.
Man, God bless Kelly. I'll tell you what, you need to buy her a Christmas present every year.
Yes. Every time I do something on my career or something, I always texting her and I'm like, thank you so much. Couldn't be here without people like you.
Yeah.
Because I told them, I was like, I am really sorry because I looked at the email and it was just saying, come dress business appearance or something like that. And so for me, business appearance was like dress pants, a regular shirt.
That's good. I mean, honestly, I literally have one suit and it's the one I interviewed in and it's the one I'm going to be buried in. So it's just, I bought it for my interview. I get you. So how about this? I know a lot of people have pushed back at Republic because they make people sign a training contract that is long and drawn out. And they've also gone after people legally for breaking that contract and sued them. Did they ask you to sign one of those documents?
So when I was starting in Republic, they were all hiring like crazy. Everyone was just hiring. So there was no contract. There was a sign-on bonus of like $2,000 or something like that. So they were not offering any bonus when I started. But something that I do understand on the company side is, man, when I got hired, I was the number 2590 on the seniority list. We were losing 100 pilots every month. Like last year, we were 100 and over every month. And we would have people that would come, finish their LOE on the sims, and not even start IOE on the plane, and they were already going to another company. So I understand the company side on the reason that the company is actually putting a lot of money to making us pay for a type, because here at Republic, you get paid your regular guarantee after 30 days. So, they paying you like you're a line pilot to come and do this training for you to leave and be like, hey, not even 100 hours. So many people just left without even consolidating. So I understand the way, but one thing that I tell people is do not listen to other people on a contract, because what might be good for me might not fit for you. We all have different needs on life. You have to read that contract with someone professionally and be like, is this something suitable for me and my family?
Yeah, for sure. And for those people out there thinking about going to a place that's going to ask them to sign a contract, I recommend that you find a labor attorney in your area that you can speak with, because each contract is written in a specific state, and those state laws have different meanings. So you need to know what you're getting into. You need to be clear with that. And if you are to break a contract for one reason or another, you need to know what those ramifications are too. You have to be, it's up to you. You're the master of your own destiny when it comes to that, for sure. And it just, go ahead.
Exactly. And that's the same thing that I tell everyone, because we're based here, our headquarters is here out of Indianapolis. And I'm like, you got to talk to a lawyer in Indianapolis, and they will be the unique ones. Because if you go and ask a lawyer in New York, they will tell you that they cannot tell you nothing about the contract. So listen to someone professional, and then you can put that into what fits for you. But if you're just going because, the body of my body said this, that was their opinion. But what is your own opinion? You got to have your own opinion in order to be successful.
That's right. So you have been at Republic for how long?
I got hired at Republic in November 30, 2021. So almost 2 years. I'm almost on my 2-year mark.
All right. And did you make captain when you turned 23?
I finished my LOE training before I was 23. I finished my LOE training on September 9, and I had to wait until September 13.
Listen,
to be able to start my OE.
You and this birthday, dude, like every time, I think you're done with all the things. Now you're, the next thing is your car insurance is going to go down. But like, man, this is amazing. You are just crushing and making it happen. So are you in the 175 as a captain now?
Yes, sir. I'm on the 175 as a captain.
Do you love it?
I love it. I have a run. I finished my line check in my Fed ride back in September 25th, and I've flown like 50 hours since then in less than a month. And I love it, man. I love it. It's amazing because it gives you the opportunity of show your leadership skills, because we all have leadership skills. It's just some of us don't bring it up. Some of them don't want to use them, but we all have leadership skills. And it's amazing being a captain, because now it shows you how to become a better leader. What
do you think has been the hardest part about being a captain?
Here at Republic, we're pretty much the biggest regional operator on the Northeast. So a normal schedule for me, like the other day I was doing shuttle flying. So I was doing DC. First leg was LaGuardia to DC, DC to Kennedy, Kennedy back to DC, and then back to LaGuardia. So, flying on all the short flights, on all those congestions, having meetings, having all those, it's like, okay, have to think about the passengers, have to think about your crew, have to think about every step ahead. So it's just mind blowing, because everyone says, yeah, you have experience on the right seat, but everything's different once you come on the left seat, because now it's you, when you look to your left, you're looking at yourself,
That's right. And you got to change the microphone on your headset to be on the left side instead of on the right side.
Exactly. And one of the things, is like, now you got to hold those throttles. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Now we're doing different things,
And you got to tell the guy that it's your aircraft when you leave the runway. That's another thing. You're like, oh, yeah, that's my job.
Yeah, no, that was one of the hardest things for me to get, even when I was doing my captain OE, was that I used because as a first officer, you never taxi. So, I would have never put my foot close to the rudders because I didn't want to be in the way. I knew I could have reached them if I needed to, but I would have just my hands in my lap, nothing, just looking around, making sure no traffic. But now it's like, okay, I have to be here all the time,
That's so funny. I could talk to you all day about that stuff. That's so funny. All right. So what's next?
I got the opportunity to interview with my 2 dream airlines back in September 15, 2 days after I turned 23. And I got lucky and got the CGO for both of them.
No kidding.
I got the CGO for both of them on the same day. And Now I'm just waiting on my class day.
All right. That is so
Waiting
good.
on my class day. So hopefully, next September, we can talk and I can tell you that I'm the youngest captain on a major airline.
Dude, yeah. I mean, you've already got your 1,000 hours of 121 time. It's certainly coming quick. And don't worry, because when this podcast posts, you will already be at that airline. I have great confidence in that, and that's very exciting. Are you part of the Latin Pilots Association?
Yes, sir. I'm actually the Midwest team lead. So I am the one that now we're trying to recruit people to help us do events. So I'm the one in charge here on the Midwest. So Indianapolis, Chicago, I'm the one building up all the chapters so we can start growing more,
Did you go to the convention, the expo down in Kissimmee, Florida?
Yes, sir. I was actually there in the convention on September 15th.
That's awesome. Were you out there? Is that where you did your interviews?
That is correct.
All right. That's great.
That is correct. I did both of my interviews there. And I was only planning to do one. I was only scheduled to do one.
Man, what a full opportunity. I mean, I love Claudia and I love Trevor. I think they're two of my favorites. And I think Latin Pilots Association is just a fantastic organization. And it's growing so fast. Just such a good group of people. Dude, congratulations. This is very exciting. And I just think you're an awesome testament to hard work, no matter what. And when you reached out to me, I was just kind of blown away because I loved your confidence in your message that you sent to me and just telling me that you are on this trajectory and you just worked so hard. You are not even a native English speaker. And as a person who is a family of immigrants, it's hard and it's a big uphill battle, and you are amazing, dude. So thank you for spending time with us. And so if there's a young boy or girl listening that is just learning English and they want to be a pilot, what advice would you give them?
So my big advice to anyone, not only, learning English or, any career you want to do, I feel like this will apply to you. First of all, you have to have confidence in yourself. No matter if all the people around you and everyone tells you how much confidence they have in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, there is no way you will make it through. You have to be confident on your skills because you will always be tested on your skills. You will always be tested, have challenges, but you need to be confident that you have the power to make it through all those challenges. And it's okay to have a failure, but learn from those failures, put the discipline. Everything can be done in this life. My mom, I made all these promises to my mom that I never thought were going to come true, in a short period of time. But it was because I had confidence on myself. I put the discipline and the time to continue and always reach out, always talk to anyone. Even if that person is not involved on the same career that you are, everyone can give you advice of what to do. Just don't feel afraid of talking.
Your mom made a lot of sacrifices and she should be proud that she's raised a man like you. So good job, buddy. You're awesome. Thank you for joining us and thanks for spending time with the pilots.
Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate you having me and it's been an honor being here.
All right, pilots, that's the episode. I hope you've really enjoyed it. But before you go, do me a quick favor, subscribe to my show, and leave me a review. Give me a 1-star review if it was totally worthless. Give me a 5-star review if it was the most amazing thing you've ever heard. I want to hear from you. So if you can give me a review, subscribe to the podcast, make yourself a little bit better, I will be happy. You'll be happy. We'll keep crushing. I cannot wait to see you on the next episode.